What's up guys, Erroneous here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. In today's video I'm going to be going over 10 rares that actually helped me in my progression and could possibly help you in your progression as well in the game, and who can also stick with you through the middle of the game and also late game and possibly even end game if you want to use them. They are actually viable for this in my opinion. Let's get into it. Alright, so I'm going to go right into the tavern, and I'm going to go right down to the rarity. And what I did is I'm going to be splitting these champions up into 5 void rare champions and 5 non-void rare champions that I utilize to help me get through the early game, mid game, and I still utilize a couple of these champions, or most of these champions, in end game as well. And some of these champions are going to come with no surprise to you whatsoever. Most likely you may be using these champions right now. Let me go ahead and move myself out of the way, and let's go ahead and scroll down here. So first we're going to start off with the non-void champions that are rare. So the first one I've got on my list, as many of you probably know this or probably have this champion, is Kale. Kale is an exceptional champion. Kale's going to be utilized in the beginning of the game because he's a starter champion. He's going to go through your entire lifetime of this game. He's going to go all the way to endgame. You can use him in your endgame teams if you wanted to. Now my Kale is not built crazy. He still has very old gear. I still utilize him in my clan boss team because I'm not really a huge fan of clan boss personally. I'm not using any calculators or things of that nature, but Kale is going to be number 1 on my list for non-void. And I did put Kale in a lifesteal set. It's recommended for lifesteal. And then also attack I put on him as well with speed boots. You always want to put speed boots on your champions. Unless you're in end game, then you can go with attack percent boots. But speed boots are going to be likely where you want to go throughout the entirety of this game. Now Kale's also going to be really good against dungeon waves. So dungeon waves, he does hit hard. He's going to be good against the dragon because he has poisons. And just to show you really quick, he has Dark Bolt, which places an 80% chance of placing a 2.5% poison. Also really good against clan boss, doing those poison damage. Every time the clan boss takes a turn, he ticks poison damage, which is a lot of damage. Acid Rain he has on his ability, his second ability, which you only need 85% crit rate on Kale. You can stack crit damage as high as possible, and fills the turn meter of this champion by 25% for each enemy killed. So think about it, in the early game, he's going to be dropping waves like a fly, honestly, and he'll just keep taking turns, which is really nice. And he'll get back to his Acid Rain ability as fast as possible. Then this one here, Disintegrate, really good against the dragon, really good against Ice Golem. It's going to place 4 poisons, or have a chance to place 4 poisons, 50% when booked, to place 5% poison debuffs for 2 turns, really good, and an aura in all battles by 15%. With masteries, you're going to most likely want to go down to War Master on the left side, and with support, you're going to want to try to get Sniper to increase the chance of placing that poison, and then on the right side, you're going to want probably Master Hexer to increase, or have a chance to extend the duration of any debuff cast by this champion. Next champion up is going to be Apothecary. So Apothecary is actually a very good champion, especially in an early game. If you pull this guy, congratulations to you. He's going to be your arena speed guy. So he's the one you want to go first. He's going to speed up your team, which allows you to take the advantage, have that edge over your opponent. So his skills, he has Scatterbolt, which hits 3 times. This ability is very good for Fire Knight, because Fire Knight you have to take down the shield. This ability is also good because you can put him in Giant Slayer. Now you can't see the name here, but if I go here, Giant Slayer, 30% chance of inflicting bonus damage when attacking. Bonus damage is equal to 7.5% of the target champion's max HP, or 3% of the target's max HP when attacking bosses. So he's actually really good in clan boss as well. And a lot of people utilize him in early, mid game, and sometimes late game. He's also very good for dungeon progression because he's going to use this Boon of Speed ability, which is, like I said, good for arena as well. 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns, and fills the turn meter of all allies by 15%, which is really good. He also has an aura in dungeons by 21% for defense, so that's why he's exceptional in dungeons as well. So he also, to top it off, heals a target ally by 35% HP, and this heal can be critical. So that's really good. He can do some really big heals on your allies, especially when you're about to die. You want to put as much speed on this guy as possible to go first. You also can utilize this guy in High Elves. I actually used 2 Apothecaries, not just 1, in my Faction War team, and I actually beat stage 21 with not 1, but 2 Apothecaries on my team, 1 level 60 and 1 level 50. This guy is going to keep speeding your team up, keep on healing your team, and you're pretty much just never going to die. If you do die, then you can probably use an Arbiter or another champion to pick yourselves back up and keep going. Now my Apothecary is at 254 speed. Obviously you can get him to go a lot faster than that if you have better gear. I tried to go with some resistance, or as much as resistance as I can. So if I do put him in arena, or if you put him in arena, he can resist those debuffs, especially decreased defense, because you want him to go as fast as possible so your team can go next if needed. The next champion that I've got on my list is going to be Master Butcher. So Master Butcher, really good champion. This guy is actually, I recently built him within the past like 4 to 6 months because of the Bommel Doom Tower boss that came out. Now Master Butcher, he's also good in Faction Wars, so he has a really great skill which is called Heat Exchange. When he's attacked, he heals all the allies on your team equal to the amount of damage that he takes, but it doesn't work against bosses. So once you get to the boss stage against the Faction War boss, and it's just that one boss, unfortunately he's not going to do much for your team. But he is going to help you progress through all the waves. He can help you in dungeons early game to mid game. He's going to really help you in end game content for Bommel for the normal Doom Tower. You can also utilize him in hard Doom Tower for Bommel, but preferably you want to utilize him in normal. If you can get his abilities really good accuracy on this guy, he can actually provoke a target enemy. That enemy is going to attack him, and then he's going to heal your team. He can also place a provoke on his A1 as well. This kind of reminds you maybe of Vogoth, a champion who is a little bit stronger, or much stronger than this champion, who can provoke everybody and all of the enemies, and then all the enemies are going to attack Vogoth, and Vogoth does heal all of your allies. So this is like a really weak Vogoth basically. And then you see, I tried to go with as much resistance as possible on this guy, as much HP as possible, as much defense as possible, and as much speed as possible. You do not need damage, but accuracy, if you can get it, is going to be helpful to you. I did go ahead and go with the defense and support tree, so I'm going to go down with this one right here, Unshakable, to get some more resistance for this next rotation of Bommel, but for now, we're just going to leave it at that. The next champion on the list, well, I'll do an honorable mention, and that is going to be Metalshaper. Metalshaper is very good because he does have Fortified Steel ability on his A2, which places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns, and the value of the shield is proportional to this champion's level. Now this shield is very small. However, against the Scarab boss, the Scarab, when he attacks you, you have to make sure that you have a shield on. So when you're attacking Scarab, Scarab attacks you back. And if that shield goes away, the Scarab boss also has a chance of provoking you. So when you attack the next turn, you're pretty much done, because he's going to then attack again because you attacked him with no shield. As long as you have a shield up against the Scarab boss, then your champions will not be counterattacked by the Scarab boss. And if he's faster than everybody on your team, Metalshaper, then he's always going to go with this ability because it's on a 2-turn cooldown. A better champion than Metalshaper and a much bigger upgrade than Metalshaper is probably going to be, I think, Logic Falconheart. And I think Logic is actually, not to get too off topic here, but I believe Logic Falconheart is on Sacred Order? Let's take a peek here. Right here, Logic. Alright, so Logic does have removes all debuffs from one ally, places an ally protection, and then right here it's on a 2-turn cooldown as well as Metalshaper's, places a shield all allies for 2 turns equal to 20% of this champion's max HP. So you can build Logic with a lot of HP, and he's going to actually give you a lot bigger shields than Metalshaper. So Logic is a massive upgrade, and I cannot wait to get him, because Logic's going to be more for hard Doom Tower, whereas Metalshaper, he's going to be better for normal Doom Tower. He can get you through the first, maybe even the second Scarab boss on hard, but after that, Metalshaper kind of falls off. The next champion that I'm going to use, and because Metalshaper was really honestly just a honorable mention. So the next champion I haven't built to 6-star level 60. However, if you do get her early, I just didn't get her early. I got her pretty late down the road. But it's Frozen Banshee. Frozen Banshee is also a very good champion. You want to build her fast, a lot of accuracy. This is a little bit too much accuracy for dungeons, but you can build her to go against the Ice Golem, you can build her to go against the Dragon. Those are kind of her main focuses in the game. You can also build her against Clan Boss as well, because she has a nice ability here where she places poison on her A1, 80% chance of placing a 5% poison for 2 turns, and attacks one enemy 2 times, so she can place up to 2 poisons. 2 turns if the target's under a poison sensitivity. So what she wants to go with first is Frost Blight, places a 25% poison sensitivity for 2 turns, and then she's going to go into her constant Death Caress ability and keep placing poisons. With that poison sensitivity means that you're going to actually do more damage on those poisons against any boss. So that's massive against Clan Boss, massive against Dragon, and also massive against Ice Golem. She also has an aura, increase ally accuracy in all battles by 35. Very good for early game and a little bit mid game. As you get towards late game or end game, you really aren't going to be using Frozen Banshee as much, unless you can. You can actually use her in some speed runs. However, you're probably not going to use her as much, because more than likely when you get to the end game, late game, you're going to have people like Bad El Khazar, or you're going to have other people as well who can do good poisons, like maybe even Tomb Lord, for example, like I have. Now, I don't have these champions booked because I'm free to play. I do have my Bad El book because he only takes 7 books, which is pretty fantastic. Alright, so we're just going to go on to the next champion. The next champion I'm going to utilize, and I think this is the last one on our list for rarity for non-void champions, that is going to be Valkyrie. So Valkyrie is also a very good champion. Now, it was a hard choice to choose from Valkyrie and from also Gnarlhorn, because Gnarlhorn's also a really good champion. I guess you could say another honorable mention. Super good for Skinwalker's faction crypt. He just CCs the waves non-stop. I pick Valkyrie because she's actually pretty good. I've got her at about 213 speed. I'm utilizing her in my Bannerlords team. I have no Reviver on my Bannerlords, but obviously there's going to be people out there who are going to say, oh, this champion's not the one you want to utilize, but this is just my own opinion. Leave a comment down below if you don't agree, or you want to choose a different champion that would be a nice progression champion, or a champion that you want to utilize from early and mid game. So for Valkyrie, her stats, again, 213 speed, 227 resistance. Again, I'm trying to get that resistance a little bit up there, especially if I wanted to utilize her maybe in Tag Team Arena, or if I want to use her in dungeons, things like that. She has a little bit of a bigger shield than let's say Metalshaper. Not that much bigger, but she also has the increased duration of all buffs on all allies, which is great on her A2, and places and also decreases duration of all debuffs on all allies by 1 turn, placing a 25% increased attack on them as well for 2 turns. And this protect ability is kind of her, big ability. So she places a shield on all allies for 2 turns, and the value depends on this champion's level. So if I rank her up to rank 6, and then it helps with this shield because she's going to be a higher level. It's also going to be based on the level of the, I believe, I'm not 100% sure if it's the rank and levels based on what you're putting for books, or if it's one or the other, but there's no percentage here. It also heals each ally according to the number of buffs they are currently under. So if they're under a lot of buffs, she's actually going to heal more. So that's really good, and she's actually really good in faction wars. She's good in dungeon progression, but she's not going to be, I don't think, end game viable unless you have crazy gear. And even then, you probably won't be using her because you're most likely going to be having better champions at that point. Now looking at her masteries, I don't have her fully mastered. I suggest going with more master on the left side, or you can go with Elixir of Life. I did end up putting her in a shield set so she can help with the waves, help with the bosses as well on the faction. So I'm almost done Bannerlords. I just have to beat the second boss and then the last stage, 21. Second boss is the one that hits very hard, and she helps with those shields. It's actually great that she has the shield set on, because that boss is going to slam right through the shield and almost kill your champions. So she's going to help with that, and then once that shield wears away, she goes ahead and puts that shield protect, right here, this ability shield protect. She places a shield on all your allies, and then basically it's like adding the new shield again. So then when the turn comes around for that boss, he's going to smack you again. Hopefully that shield will withstand, and with the heals that she has, you can survive against the boss. So that's going to be the 5 non-void champions that I would choose. Now the 5 void champions that I would shout out, you guys may know if you've watched my channel for a little while, I do really like this champion. So I'm going to go with Draconics on the first one. Draconics is a really good champion from the Sacred Order. Some people love him, some people hate him. I did go ahead and put, well, I actually have 2 Draconics. I chose the wrong one. So the Draconics I use is actually this one here. So this Draconics here, he's got 186 speed. He's in an all-speed set, 65,000 HP, and 60% crit rate. I wish it was at 100%, and 195% crit damage. I put as much resistance as I could on him because obviously I want him to be able to resist some things, especially in faction crypts. He's really, really good in faction crypts. He's going to be able to heal your champions. I did go ahead and put him in War Master and Lasting Gifts, so it would help with his A2 ability, Lasting Gifts, which places a shield buff equal to this champion's max HP of 15%, so that's really nice. And then Order of Mercy is his hardest hitting ability. Removes all debuffs from an ally with the lowest HP, then heals them by 25% of the damage inflicted. This can be a very big heal. It can be about 20,000 HP worth of heal. And then on the Beneficence, attacks one enemy, heals the ally with the lowest HP by 7.5% of the damage inflicted. A much smaller heal, but again, if he does good damage, if he's in really good gear, he's going to do bigger heals. So I like this champion. Some people love him, some people hate him. I give him a thumbs up. I do suggest and recommend for you to build him. The next one's going to be Seducer. Seducer's a really good champion as well. He's on the Undead Hordes. I mean, this guy's a beast. Look at this guy. He works out clearly every single solitary day of his life. I mean, I wish I had abs like that. It's freaking insane. So taking a look at his total stats, I've got him at 196 speed, 3,400 defense, about 40,000 HP. I got him at 100% crit rate, not much crit damage, but enough accuracy to land his debuffs. So the reason why this guy is so good, I also have him in a stun set, and he's used in my faction war team still, and I'm in a late game, close to end game type account, which is free to play. So his skills on his A1, he places a sleep for 1 turn, and he has a 45% chance of placing it. On the A2, attacks all enemy, 75% booked up to 100% chance of placing a decreased attack for 2 turns, which is really good. It's only a 25% decreased attack, but it's better than nothing. And then on the A3, he's got places a 30% increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns, and a block debuffs buff on all allies for 2 turns. That is massive, especially on the last boss. So the last boss that you're going to be facing is actually going to end up having a very hard hitting ability, and he's also going to be placing those, I think, those fears. So if you time it right, he places the block debuffs on your team, and then the boss tries to place those fears or tries to CC you, and this guy just completely blocks it because of the block debuffs buff. And it's for 2 turns, so it's fantastic. The next one he has, but it's only available if Temptress is not on the same team. He can place an ally protection, 50% on all allies, places a block damage on himself for 1 turn, but I don't use Temptress. I don't really think she's that great, but you know, leave in the comments down below. Do you use Temptress? I don't know. I don't use her. I don't really see anybody use her either. This guy also has ally HP in all battles by 25%, which is huge. The next champion that is a void rare is going to be Coldheart. So Coldheart I mean, if you don't have her yet, I mean, if you do get her, fantastic. Coldheart's a massive. Coldheart will be end game, late game, everywhere. She's going to follow you everywhere in this game. So the reason why is because this Heartseeker ability, she is a goddess when it comes to end game runs. So if you're trying to speed run in your dungeons on stage 25, she's in most people's 25 comps that are speed running. They put 2 or 3 Coldhearts on their teams to speed run spiders, to speed run Fire Knight, and basically to speed run other content in the game. But mostly you're going to see her in Fire Knight endgame and Spider endgame content. I personally have 3 Coldheart. I only have one that's at level 60, and I'm going to be upgrading another one to level 60 pretty soon. And then I have my other one, my last one, who is only level 40. So I just pulled that last one a little bit ago, and actually a previous video that I posted. So go ahead and check that out. She has Art of Pain as well, so decrease accuracy and poison. So she's really good early game against the clan boss. Some people utilize her through mid game if they don't really have much else to work with, but a lot of times you're going to have something different. The reason why she's so good on Fire Knight is this A1. Attacks 4 times at random, and each hit has a 25% chance of placing 100% heal reduction, which is booked out to a 35% chance for 2 turns on the Fire Knight. So if for some reason you don't get his shield down and he attacks you, Fire Knight typically heals himself by about 60% or 40% of his health, and with this heal reduction by 100%, it's going to allow so that that guy does not heal at all, so you can keep taking down his shield and kill him as quickly as possible. On her masteries, I did go with Flawless Execution to get 20% more crit damage off, and I do recommend you going with Flawless Execution as well to get as much crit damage as possible, because you want to be able to do a significant amount of damage. Mine's only got 232% crit rate, or crit damage, and 85% crit rate. Obviously if I can get her to 100%, that'd be fantastic, but you don't necessarily need her at 100%, because this ability right here, Heartseeker, has a 30% extra chance of inflicting a critical hit. So the damage increases according to enemy max HP, and that's why she does so much damage on those dungeon bosses. The next champion I want to show you is going to be Paragon. Paragon, you guys might have heard this before, but the Paragon cheese. This guy's a beast. He's going to help you get through pretty much any wave content in the game. He can help you through waves. He's also going to help you, and the reason why I say waves, I mean specifically campaign waves. So Paragon has a special ability here, which is called Damage Control, and it places an unkillable buff and a 25% increased attack buff on the target ally for 2 turns. And so this guy, if he can just keep placing unkillable, he's going to get you through the last boss on Nightmare, Mortu Macabre, who ends up using that ability that basically one-shots anybody. He goes through defense, he goes through, I think, block damage and things like that. So having this guy is going to be massive on your account. Damage Control is a really good ability. Life Shackles, don't really care too much about that. Attacks 3 times at random, and then attacks 1 enemy on the A1. You don't really need to book this guy. The only thing you want to book is Damage Control. Once you book that, that's really all you need. Now Masteries, if you did go with Masteries, I do recommend going with Lore of Steel, and I do recommend for offense going down to War Master to help you with the run for the Nightmare. I would put him in Speed Boots, and again I would just make him go as fast as possible. I took off his boots. He was at 160. He's at 160 speed right now, but you kind of want to get him to like 200 speed if you can help it, maybe 210 speed or more. And the faster he goes, the faster he's going to get around to the damage control ability, which is going to be nice for your team. The next champion that I'm going to go with is going to be Renegade, and I think this is the 5th champion for me that I'm going to be utilizing, and I'll go over an honorable mention as well. So Renegade, the reason why I'm picking her is kind of a hard decision for me, but Renegade, I picked her because of her Sacrificial Ritual ability, which decreases the cooldown of all ally skills by 2 turns, and Renegade helps you to complete speed runs. So next to Kymar, Renegade is one of the only champions that can decrease cooldowns of all ally skills. There's another champion that can do it as well, but I think there's only 3 champions, maybe 4 champions in the game that can decrease ally skills. At least decrease all ally skills by a specific amount of turns. And the top 2 of them in the game are Renegade and Kymar. And Kymar right now is having the 2 times 10 times chance, so you got 2 times chance to pull Legendary and a 10 times chance to pull Kymar. I don't know if that's over now, but if you did pull a Kymar, congratulations to you, that's fantastic. So this is really one of the only reasons why people use Renegade, is just the decreasing the cooldown of all ally skills. Another reason why people use her is in Fire Knight because the heal reduction, and then the Lash Out ability decreases the speed of the Fire Knight. She's also good in other content in the game. She's good for Doom Tower if you want to decrease speed on certain bosses and decrease accuracy. So you can use her on Bommel if you wanted to, but she's going to be a little bit tricky to use. You might have to manual against Bommel because Bommel is a very annoying champion who likes to remove your buffs and then place bombs on you constantly. I didn't complete her masteries, but if you want to go ahead and do her masteries to make your runs faster, I would consider going down with War Master. And then on this side, you can either go with this accuracy and go all the way down to, I would suggest doing Not Lasting Gifts. You can do Extend Durations with Master Hexer, you can go with Laura Steel, and then I do highly suggest Evil Eye, especially against the bosses, and specifically Fire Knight. So an honorable mention for a Void champion that's a rare is going to be Bellower. So Bellower, the reason why I picked this guy as an honorable mention, and you could say like, hey, Bellower is definitely better than Renegade, or I would recommend her over Paragon, you know. But the reason why I chose Bellower as an honorable mention is because you put him in a stun set and he's just gonna do work for you. I mean, this guy's an absolute beast. Mine's a little bit slow. I do have speed, but my stun set pieces are not that great. There's like no speed on my stun set pieces on him. But I also didn't utilize him in my Ogryn faction crypts to beat the Ogryn faction crypt. I utilize epics and I utilize legendaries, and I utilized one rare champion, which was also an honorable mention, Gear Grinder, because Gear Grinder, I put him in Relentless so he can keep reviving his team, because anytime someone goes down, I really needed that reviver, and Gear Grinder is a good champion to revive, even though his revival is on a 5-turn cooldown. So kind of going back to Bellower, his abilities, he has a block active skills on his A1, which attacks all enemies. And then he attacks all enemies again on his A2, which is a decreased speed, which is the small version, but it's still good against the waves. And then he attacks all enemies again on the A3. So attacking all enemies, you can see that this guy is so great. He's so useful against dungeon waves. He's so useful against Spider. He's so useful against anybody in regards to dungeon waves. So attacks all enemies on his A3, decrease attack, decrease defense, weak version, but it's okay because he's just a void rare champion. And then he has increased speed in faction crypts by 15%, so if you want to put him in the lead spot, he's going to really help your team to progress in faction crypts. So that's going to do it for me, guys. Tell me down below in the comments down there, okay? Tell me down below, what are your thoughts? Who would you utilize as a rare champion, and who do you utilize when you're progressing throughout your account, whether you're early game, whether you're mid game, whether you're end game now? Let me know down below, and like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Subscribing would be great, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Take care.